How's it going, YouTube? This is Hutchinson, Kansas Real Fan Productions here speaking, and welcome into another train DVD video. Yeah, I did do my weekend show just a few minutes ago, outlet. I was gonna tell you all I was gonna do this outlet next Friday, the 14th, but I just checked, severe weather is forecast for the United States, so I am gonna probably be busy on both, Friday and next Saturday, so I figure I have time to do this today. So why not I go ahead and play this today and bring it to you all right now. So just give me a minute to put it into the DVD player, Allie, and we'll get started. Well, let's get started.
To Fairbanks, the Alaska Railroad is a 356-mile ribbon of timbers and steam that weaves its way through Alaska's mountains and valleys and laces across her tangled skeins of rivers and streams. The railway is a resplendent thread in the rich tapestry that is contemporary Alaska. This scenic rail journey will take us through Alaska's heartland to Denali National Park and on to Fairbanks. Along the route, we'll see Alaskan wildlife and share the lives and adventures of some of the great land's many colorful characters. We'll traverse areas so remote that to get there, the railway is the only way. Last frontier. Our adventure begins in Anchorage, Alaska's largest city. Even a short stay here makes it plain that Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore.
When my father first came here in 1948, there were about 5,000 people here in Anchorage. The city now has about 250,000 people in it, with about 600,000 people in the whole state. What makes Anchorage a modern city are the people that come up here from all over the world. Our number one form of transportation are these small, privately owned aircraft. There is one airplane for every 6 people in Alaska. Does everyone see the signal that the airplane gives us as it comes down the street? That signal is the airplane propeller turning round and round. So we quickly pull off the road and let the airplane who has the right of way to taxi right down the street. Now on my left are Alaska Railroad's very first steam engine. This is the only railroad in the United States that will drop you off or pick you up anywhere along the tracks.
Since 1985, the Alaska Railroad has been properly owned by the people of the state of Alaska.
How are you doing today? Welcome to the Alaska Railroad. In just a few moments, we will begin boarding our northbound train to Wasilla, Talkeetna, Denali National Park, and Fairbanks.
At the height of the summer tourist season, travelers from all over the world create an excited buzz at the Anchorage station. For many, this is the trip of a lifetime, a romantic adventure to the edge of civilization. They are here, like Jack London and Robert Service and so many others before and since then, to answer the call of one of the last great wildernesses on Earth.
If you're riding with the Alaska Railroad and your destination is either Denali or Fairbanks, you will go out these blue double doors and board any of the 2 blue and gold coaches.
While the Alaska Railway caters to the needs of the adventurous independent traveler, it is also a vital freight and commercial link from coastal Alaska to the interior. Every day it's used by visitors and native Alaskans alike. The employees of the Alaska Railroad are dedicated professionals, many with more than 20 years of service. They enjoy their work, and they love showing off their state to their guests. Route to Fairbanks is 356 miles long. The train travels at a leisurely pace, and the trip takes about 12 hours. Just a short distance out of Anchorage, the train leaves most traces of civilization behind and enters a pristine Alaskan wilderness. For miles and miles, the train passes through verdant corridors of summer growth, stimulated to a frenzied burst of life by the nearly endless far north days. Civilization intrudes occasionally at road crossings where the ubiquitous RV reminds us how nice it is to be on the train. Sparkling mountain streams brim with the promise of deep, dark holes where the big ones wait for the right moment. Visitors not used to faraway places with strange sounding names needn't fear in Alaska. Passengers can eat and shop to their heart's content as they roll through some of North America's most scenic landscapes.
We're from Eagle River, which is just out of Anchorage, and we're riding up to Denali to ride our tandem bicycle back down to Eagle River. Quite a bit of it will be downhill with a slight grade, and that will help some. On a bicycle, you see more than normally you would in a car. So oftentimes small animals like fox or lynx and porcupine and
Fair. I don't anticipate seeing any, but I don't look forward to it if we should. I just don't care about them.
The first stop on our journey is about 4 hours up the tracks at colorful Talkeetna.
The Alaska Railroad's pretty amazing in that in a one-day journey, you can pretty much visit three completely different planets. First, you're down in Seward, you're seeing coastal Alaska. You're in a rainforest by the edge of a glacier on the ocean. And just about 5 or 6 hours later, you're here in Talkeetna at the base of the largest mountain in North America, and it's clearly interior Alaska.
Talkeetna is a classic little Alaskan frontier village. It's rumored to be the model for the town featured in the popular television series Northern Exposure. Talkeetna is the starting point for the adventurous climbers who challenge their skill and endurance on nearby Mount McKinley.
Tried forced to get over to this side under that active eagle's nest, but the water's moving too fast.
Margaret Salmon and her partner Jerry Souza operate a guide and eco-tourism service on the numerous rivers and streams that surround Talkeetna.
Cross, but it's a lot of fun. All right, everyone ready? I got to Talkeetna actually via a friend of mine, Jerry Souza, who was a spotter pilot for herring in Prince William Sound. Jerry had always guided up here ever since he was a little kid. Now we can have our own little business here in Talkeetna, rafting and sport fishing.
It's a good feeling to be able to show what Alaska has to offer here in a really non-intrusive way.
Actually, what I love best about Alaska is there's not that many people. And so they're really, really taking care to make sure that in 50 years from now, we'll have the same amount of wildlife anyway, and hopefully the same amount of habitat. And I'll set up a scope and we can take a look at this active eagle's nest. We're pretty sure that there's an eaglet in there because both mates have been really active about flying branches up there and hanging pretty tight. We saw one of the eagles downriver, so the mate may perhaps be in the nest. See how it's made. You guys can take a look. That nest now is so large that if the eagle climbs down into it, we actually can't see it anymore. You can see it right on. Oh, I love this state. I mean, I was a 19-year-old woman. I had my own commercial fishing boat. It's a land of opportunity. So I certainly haven't felt anyone stomping on me to hold me back. So the sky's the limit. And if you've got the energy, yeah, you can pretty much go for it. Hang on, Lindsay, don't get wet. Whoa. All right. Woo! Okay, big one.
The flag stop train is unique to this part of Alaska. On aboard! For more than 50 miles from Talkeetna to Hurricane, the only access to people's homes and cabins is the railway. Summer and winter, residents along the route rely on the rails for their supplies, mail, medical transportation, and any other outside needs. To get a flavor of life in the bush country, hop aboard the flag train. Don't forget to pack a lunch.
Where you going? 255? 255? Okay, I gotta take two from that, so
Okay.
one way.
And I'm coming out today too, so
Okay, 255.
get you to honk the horn.
All right.
You can stand next to the rail and flag the train down and stop it, and I believe it's one of the last flag stop trains available in the United States. And it helps these people get out to their cabins or their homesteads. Everything north of Talkeetna all the way up to Hurricane, there's no roads. So this is the only way for them to get in there.
Railroad provides propane, all their gasoline, all their fuel, all their supplies out here. Yeah, these people live out here are dependent completely on the railroad.
You know, it offers my family a week vacation in the middle of nowhere without neighbors to do what we want, to play baseball and make up our own rules and to do whatever we want.
get a hot tip from a fly fisherman that the Indian River is a place to go for rainbows. So we're headed up there. We're not exactly sure where we're going, but we know conductor's going to tell us when to get off.
So far, we found a lot of fish, but a lot of people, and this is supposed to be a place where there's a lot of fish and not a lot of people. That's why we're on this train.
We hope to get back because if we miss the train coming back, I guess we'll be out here for 3 days. We have our bear spray with us because there's supposed to be some big bear.
259.9.
Oh, here's our stop.
All right.
Beautiful looking water. Absolutely gorgeous. Right from here, there's a good bend, and then if you go up and around, there's a good bend over there. And if you go down this way, on the other side of the bridge is a good spot. Okay, great. You know what you're doing. You'll find them. Thank you. All right, see you later. Bye bye. Be careful.
From Wisconsin, and we just moved up here about 3 weeks ago. And we moved up here because we've always wanted a homestead. And it took 11 years, and we've been planning this for 11 years, and we're finally here.
We've been looking at land all around, and this just seems another little venture for us. We've always enjoyed the outdoors, and they're getting too crowded.
Everybody told us, make it to the first winter, then we're okay. So we're just taking it day by day. If we get to the first winter, then I guess we've accomplished what we've been wanting to do. We become Alaska.
To live in a cabin out in the woods. The conductor on the railroad told me about a little abandoned cabin halfway to Anchorage, just near Chalitna. Like porcupines and squirrels that lived in it. It was quite a mess. There were holes in the ceiling. Stove was all kind of burnt out, but I moved in, patched things up, and by trial and error, I learned how to get a fire going, how to live in the cabin.
Mary Shields came to Alaska, enchanted by the spell of the North. In her early years here, the flag train was her lifeline. In 1974, Mary became the first woman to complete the grueling Iditarod sled dog race.
Wanna go?
Friends came down from Fairbanks and they suggested a few sled dogs would help with the chores, be good company for me. And it just so happened they had 3 old sled dogs at home. Very next southbound train, the engineer blew the whistle, the train stopped out in the middle of nowhere, and out came these 3 big fluffy dogs, a pile of dog food, an old sled, harnesses, and they had a little note taped on the sled that said, "Dear Mary, there's nothing to it, just put the dogs in front of the sled." When I heard of a 1,000-mile race where they broke out the trail for us, I thought this is a great way to see Alaska. So I just called up and signed up. They said, "Who are you?" And you needed 8 dogs to start the race. I only had 6 dogs, so I had to buy 2 more dogs to meet the minimum requirement to start the race. When I got to Nome, it was pretty exciting. I pulled in about 3:30, thinking no one would be wide awake, but they turned the fire siren on. That's the way they alert the community that a team's coming in. They do it for the first team, they do it for the last team, they do it for everyone that mushes 1,000 miles. Right under the finish line, there was a group of women waiting, short Eskimo women, great big tall women, parkas, mucklucks, and they had a banner stretched out over their heads, said, "You've come a long way, baby."
This train is specifically for the locals and tourists that might want to get on and get a unique perspective of the railroad.
Careful with Mom, kids.
All right.
Kids.
We make stops all along the way for the people that have cabins or people that live out in this area, stopping and unloading baggage and stuff for people that live along the rail. So that's what's so unique about this run here. Do you need this so often? You got everything? I got
In the coming months, the Getch family will be challenged as never before.
don't hurt yourself there. Yeah, let me
Enjoyable winter nights seem even longer than endless summer days. Here, the term cabin fever is not just an expression, it's a cold reality.
I carry this heavy sleeping bag I gotta carry all this stuff.
Yeah, you must be a true outdoorsman when you're finished. Have a good one. See you Sunday, huh? All right. I've been to railroad for 26 years. I got a good job. A really good job. Call that harmonics. The harmonics of the tracks. We get the backwards and forth movement. The rocking movement. Harmonics? Hack know all about that. That's your story. You're sticking to it. I've been working here for 20 years, driving the gravel trains, the coal trains, and the freight trains, passenger trains. This one's a lot of fun. Meeting people and get to see the wildlife, see lots of bears and stuff.
Hurricane Bridge, the end of the line. The train crew simply move to the other end of the car and head back south.
I love fish, but I'm not a fisherman. I'm not a hunter. I'm kind of a sports fanatic. Football, basketball, and occasionally I do get out with some friends and go whatever out snow machining. I'm in the cabin reading a book. I love Alaska. Alaska's been really good to me and my family. We had a 15-inch rainbow caught, photographed, and released before I even had a fly on. All right.
Experience Mount McKinley up close.
I've been flying the Alaska Bush for about 15 years now.
Woods fly you up to the glacier and bring you back with stories that are good for a round in any bar.
The view changes every day. The mountain changes every day. I don't think there's any such thing as a routine flight up here. It's sure a lot of fun. There's moments when you wouldn't trade it for anything, and then there's moments you wish you were somewhere else, but pretty nice. Wander up here and see if we can get through this path. We're coming into some Switzerland here. Don Sheldon named it. Kind of look like Switzerland. People come in here to ski and climb. I have a 2-year-old daughter that already wants to fly the airplane. Loves to go up onto the glacier. I suppose when she's 16, she'll want to borrow the keys to the plane instead of the keys to the car. I'm looking at the largest vertical rise on Earth. But we have two summits. We're looking right at the south summit, which is the high one, 20,320 feet. Mountain on Earth, day for day, is colder than ever because of our latitude. Right on that. Climbing circles is shown as Death Valley. You tread lightly through there because it can avalanche from either side, and if it does, you're just in there. Grand Express is the most direct line down from the summit to the 14,000-foot level. That's why it's so seductive for a tired climber. Is you're standing up there by the summit, and you can see the 14,000-foot camp, and it looks like, oh hell, I'll just go down that thing and take a shortcut, and it ends up being a hell of a shortcut. Here, we'll take an orbit around base camp, and we'll land it.
The Denali Base Camp is located on the Kahiltna Glacier at an altitude of 7,500 feet. It's where most climbers begin and end their ascent of Mount McKinley, North America's highest peak.
Hey, Jolene, this is Andy. Can you tell me if you have any more climbers coming into base camp today?
Yeah, I've been coming up to Mount McKinley now, operating the base camp for 6 years.
How's it going, Buck?
Annie Duquette, Glacier Annie, runs the base camp for the air charter operators.
Go out. Well, I get to meet people from all over the world. It's really interesting for me. All different types of nationalities come through base camp. I also get to deal with people on very different working conditions that I do back on the East Coast. Living on a glacier is a lot different from living on pavement and soil.
Well, unfortunately, I had to come down at 16 too. I live at sea level. And it was pretty hard puffing with a 70-pound pack and a 35, 40-pound sled.
I see people at their best and at their very worst. Usually they're at their best when they're coming into the glacier, and usually when they're leaving, I see them at their worst.
One fellow had a hernia the day before, so he couldn't go. One fellow turned back at 10,000 feet, and I made it to 16 too.
The most common problem that a lot of climbers encounter is the altitude. A lot of climbers don't realize that they need to take time at high altitudes to acclimatize, and a lot of times they rush up to the summit and come down with either cerebral or pulmonary edema. And that's the problem that we find most often up here. This year, though, we did have an awful lot of frostbite due to the high winds. As far as being lonely, no, I'm never lonely up here. I always have climbers at camp. A lot of the same climbers come back every year, working with the taxi services, working with the park service. It's like a big family up here, and we work as a team, and that's real important, and that's what I like about it.
Inspirational in its beauty, awesome in its scale, the mountain is a terrifying adversary for those who dare to challenge its formidable heights. At 20,320 feet, Mount McKinley creates its own weather. Hurricane-force winds rise suddenly and can literally blow an unwary climber off the mountain's precipitous ridges. The chasm at Hurricane Gulch is a major challenge for the railway's builders.
Gentlemen, in just a few moments, we're going to be coming up to Hurricane Gulch.
Tanya Matlock is one of the handful of young Alaskans selected to be railway tour guides.
It was built in 1921 by the American Bridge Company. They started on either side and worked towards the middle, using an aerial tram for their construction.
Graceful steel arch of the Hurricane Bridge supports a span 918 feet long. It's 296 feet to the creek below.
When people come to Alaska and ride on the Alaska Railroad, they receive a lot of personal attention. I meet people from all over the world, from Austria, Germany, and Australia, and Japan, and all over Asia and Europe. After crossing Honolulu Creek, we'll go around another bend and head down River Valley to those sand bluffs. That's the direction which we're heading in. See how far down it appeals to the visitors who come here. The scenery, the wildlife, coming to see Mount McKinley, the glaciers, fishing. Many people like to go out on charters or go on fly-in fishing or try their luck fishing in the waters of Alaska. And here is my horse, Memory. Fox was a great horse. Took a little bit of work and training, but we've done very well in showing, and I enjoyed going out on trail rides with her. We have a big backyard right here at the Chugach Mountains where I live. You can go hiking, or you can drive off and go camping.
On her days off from riding the Iron Horse, Tanya will often ride Memory out to greet the train. Here she becomes a colorful part of the scenery and Alaskan lore that she describes so well to her passengers. Our rail adventure continues towards Denali National Park, Alaska's #1 tourist destination.
started riding the Alaska Railroad when I was 9 years old. I'd save my pennies. I'd get on the train, ride to the park, buy a milkshake. That was how I spent the afternoon, and catch the night train back home again. I started photography in high school just as something to do, and I kind of liked it. But I got the picture of the doll sheep ram that's in the book, and everybody wanted to buy it from me. All aboard!
Rickman Warren Redfern typifies the Alaskan spirit of adventure and independence.
I've been working on the railroad now for 21 and a half years. I hired out of high school, earned some money to go to college, and I forgot to go to college.
And you took these yourself?
I took these myself, yes, ma'am. The glacier here is Columbia Glacier in Prince William Sound, College Fjord. To get out and play in winter or the cold, long, dark nights will literally drive you crazy. They call it cabin fever. On the other hand, the endless days give you just the opposite effect because the wildlife come out at night, and a lot of places it's dark by the time they get up and start moving. And a lot of my really great photos have been taken 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night because we do have the 19 hours of daylight. Traveled quite a bit. I've been in 47 of the 50 states and in several countries, but the pull always is to be back here with the bears and the moose and the sheep. I love that lifestyle, the remoteness. I like to get away where if I don't make the noise, you don't hear a man-made noise. I was only about 10 feet from it when I took that picture. My favorite part of working on the railroad is sharing Alaska that I love with the people that ride on my trains, trying to show them the moose, the bear, McKinley. You'd think I get tired of it after as many trips I've gone through. It's every time I see them out, I get a thrill because the passengers are getting a thrill seeing this, and it's an awesome sight.
The centerpiece of this part of Alaska is Mount McKinley in Denali National Park. The big mountain is not the park's only attraction. Hikers, bikers, botanists, birders can all find plenty to do in Denali. The train is an excellent way to visit Denali because the park's only road is closed to private vehicles. Each year, more than 500,000 people visit this magnificent Alaskan and national treasure. Nice tour. Visitors head off in all directions to enjoy the park's scenic splendor.
Hey, help me back, man.
Bye, thank you.
For many first-time park guests, a visit to the sled dog demonstration provides a close look at a classic Alaskan tradition.
My name is Jennifer. I'm an interpretive ranger here at Denali National Park.
The Husky sled dog is an Alaskan legend.
These dogs are employees of the National Park Service, just like I am. The history of using dogs in Alaska has a long, long tradition. As long as 12,000 years ago, maybe even more, Native people have been using dogs to survive. Well, let's look at Alaska today, contemporary Alaska. There are many people like me who own just a couple Huskies, but I use them for work. My dogs haul coal to my cabin. They help me haul water. They help me do work. And I play with them too. I do recreational mushing and really enjoy their company as companion pets as well. Shiva, no! Give those dogs a round of applause! Phew, that's Buck. and he's sitting right up there, and he'd be more than willing to take any treats that you could give him, because that'll help us keep these dogs on the trail and keep the park in as beautiful shape as you see it when you're here visiting.
Around 250,000 visitors to Denali will take a bus tour into the park's interior. There they can view wildlife and experience the high Arctic environment. On a good day, they'll be treated to a view of Mount McKinley. Denali, the High One, as it was called by Alaska's first natives. This group of adventurers is headed for a week stay at Camp Denali, a unique wilderness lodge in the heart of the park overlooking Wonder Lake and the Alaska Range.
Pull up next to this guy, just try and stay as quiet as possible. It's molting out its winter coat. That's why it looks so ratty. In another month and a half, that box will be beautiful. That's the Sable Pass, that big open area of tundra with snow patches on it. And I'm going to be heading right up to the right of those snow patches. Go right over that pass. So we're going to climb about 1,200 feet here in the next 2 miles.
The road trip from the park headquarters to Gantishna, nearly 90 miles into the park's interior, is an unforgettable experience. A welcome feature of the trip to Camp Denali is the picnic. It features such Alaskan delicacies as smoked salmon, reindeer sausage, fresh tomatoes grown in Camp Denali's greenhouse, and a delicious array of home-baked treats. The ice-clad mountains of the Alaska Range tower over a vast expanse of subarctic wilderness. In 1917, this area was set aside to be preserved in its natural state as Mount McKinley National Park. In 1980, the park was expanded to cover an area larger than the state of Massachusetts and was renamed Denali National Park and preserved. Seemingly endless summer days promote a proliferation of plant life that forms the foundation for a food chain that extends from ground squirrels to grizzly bears. Being in the presence of the magnificent grizz is a humbling reminder that we are not the most powerful creature on the land.
So big.
Yep, there's a cub. We're right behind her. If you look directly behind her, about 5 feet, where's cub? We're walking right beside her.
Access to the park is strictly limited to bikes, foot traffic, and tour buses that provide excellent opportunities to see the park and its wildlife. Most of the park is above tree line. The vegetation consists of a spongy carpet of small flowers and dwarf shrubs, known as tundra. Travelers fortunate enough to view Denali are quickly overcome by the sense of awe that inspired the early Athabascan natives to hold the mountains sacred. Denali is a rare and rustic oasis in a rushed and complicated world. The accommodations are Spartan but comfortable. Food is excellent, service cordial. The exterior decor is incomparable.
Hi, I'm Nan. And was it Lindsay? Oh, great, Lindsay. Welcome to Camp Denali. Great to see you here.
The main lodge at Camp is a May gathering place with a cast iron stove. It's crammed with books on Alaska's nature and wildlife, as well as camp memorabilia.
Good evening. While you folks are finishing up your dessert, why don't we make just a few announcements and then we'll help get you. My name is Wally Cole, and my wife Kareen and I are the owners and operators of Camp Valley and North Face Lodge. Sounds like you had a good trip in today and saw the majority of the bears along the road corridor.
How many today? 11. Well, 17 is the record, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
It's nice to have you folks here, and it's great to see so many familiar faces.
Well, I think in general, the reason we exist here at Denali National Park is to give the more adventurous of the folks who travel here these days an alternative to what is the norm in terms of accommodations and experience. Some folks come from an active hiking background. Some people are avid naturalists. Some people are professionals in the natural sciences. And others have had absolutely no experience with the outdoors at all. I guess we like to be here for all of those people. We want people to be comfortable who have never experienced anything like this before and go home with new eyes about how comfortable they can be in a wilderness setting. Not everybody has to experience Alaska via a cruise ship.
The people that come here and their sojourn in Alaska are here, of course, to see the big mountain. And this is one of the unique places on the globe where you can look out of your cabin and view the mountain right between your toes if you position yourself accordingly in your bed. And of course, the other thing that people find once they get to Denali is this incredible amount of wildlife, as well as a variety of bird life.
Many folks have come to experience Denali and to learn something about its natural wonders. And so while we give them facility to do things on their own, like mountain biking along the park road, canoes that we have moored down in a 2.5-mile long lake that has a wonderful view of Mount McKinley and reflected from its waters.
Okay, we're going up the Camps Ridge, which is a 1,500-foot vertical rise.
We also have a staff of naturalist guides who are going out with guests each day. Usually we divide guests into small groups of not more than, say, 10 or 12 people and help them experience Denali either in a very strenuous hiking fashion or nothing more than a half-day nature walk.
The founders of Camp Denali really wanted to establish a place where people could come and get a feel for the land. They really were interested in being outdoors themselves, and so they loved to hike and to bird and to botanize and to view wildlife, and also just to experience Alaska.
Camp Denali was started by Morton and Virginia Wood and their friend Celia Hunter. That was back in 1951.
We thought it'd be neat to spend summers out there, and because and we expected that we would probably have guests that like to hike, and we would go with them. The fact that we wanted to have people get out and hike in the park, watch the wildlife, and do the things we like to do. And our whole thing was that we figured what the entertainment was out there. We didn't want any artificial stuff.
In the early days, all the people that came to this park came by the train or flew. The original owners here, pilots.
I went get to Alaska in 2 beat-up old Army surplus airplanes, which we were hired to deliver to Fairbanks. They had women pilots up here in Alaska before we ever got up here. They were fairly rare. Yeah, fairly rare birds.
It wasn't until 1959 that Wally got into the picture.
Wally was a kid then. When we first knew him, he was rustling baggies back at the hotel.
And one rainy night here in the lodge, having gotten in at around 11 o'clock, very stormy, rainy, awoke the next morning to this incredible panorama of McKinley and the rest of the Alaska range in full view through these front windows. And he was hooked.
And then we tried to figure out for several years how I could buy it. The lawyer said, well, now what about the down payment? And we said, well, we hadn't planned on having a down payment because we didn't want to have Wally spend the money on a down payment that he could spend operating it. And I said, you really have to have something.
We didn't have a whole lot of money to invest in a place to call our own, a business to call our own.
So we said, well, we would like to have a couple of rocking chairs for our home. So that was the agreement. Well, he did this in his spare time. That was his hobby of doing something. So that's why we got those. We don't no longer own any part of Captain Alec, but our hearts are still there.
This beautiful canyon was a nightmare for the builders of the Alaska Railroad. The soil was unstable and landslides were a constant fear. Occasional phases of sheer rock made it necessary to blast tunnels. The final leg of our journey takes us up to Fairbanks, the north end of the main line of the northernmost railroad in North America. As we leave the canyon, the terrain opens up and the vegetation changes. Aspen trees become more prevalent. The land is in the rain shadow of the Alaska Range. It is more arid than the land south of the mountains. 702-foot-long Mears Memorial Bridge spans the Nenana River. It was the last major bridge on the Alaska Railroad route. At the bridge's west end, on July 15, 1923, President Warren G. Harding drove the golden spike that marked the completion of the railroad.
As you shake it down, make sure that fold is settled down deep. Material all to one side of the pan.
John Binkley's family were pioneers in the settlement of interior Alaska.
All that material. The Alaska Railroad, which was constructed up in the interior about 1920, became a vital part of interior Alaska's success. All of a sudden, there was a link from the interior part of Alaska to the coastal part of Alaska in Seward. And then supplies could come year-round, and it brings us literally thousands of visitors up into the interior part of Alaska.
The gold will go to the bottom of the pan.
The gold mining is really what started Fairbanks in the interior part of Alaska's modern-day history. Gold was discovered here in 1902, and that followed with stampeders who came into this part of Fairbanks. And it's what sustained Fairbanks' economy over the years as well. Although our family didn't actually mine gold, gold mining is still an important part of our economy, and we want to share that with visitors, allow them to get in and feel the thrill, really, of finding that gold for themselves.
The best part about the gold in these pans right now, folks, brand new money, right out of a hole in the ground.
And we're voting now for into 4 generations. And we felt the natural evolution of that was to share some of our history and our insights into Alaska with visitors coming.
Jim Binkley Jr. captains the steamboat Discovery 3. This sternwheeler is 156 feet long and weighs 260 tons. Built and equipped to the Binkley family's exacting specifications, she'll float in 3 feet of water.
Our family started in the gold rush days. My grandfather came up here in 1898, and instead of gold mining, he built stern wheel riverboats and supplied the gold miners.
We're going to have a short photographic opportunity here, folks. Captain Jim Binkley is the last surviving pilot.
My father grew up transporting freight on the rivers, supplying the native communities along the river, the gold miners, and we want to try to let people relive that. A 4-hour cruise. I had spent a number of years up and down the Yukon River serving the needs of Indian, Eskimo, and Caucasian people for literally dozens of hundreds of miles. And when Mrs. Binkley and I started this, she had an awareness of the cultures of the interior and had studied it, as a matter of fact. And she felt that people would be interested in this remarkable native culture found here in the shadow of the Arctic Circle. Have duplicated what life was like in the days that my father was supplying the villages. And fish camps and fish wheels we see along here, the Indian villages, are very typical of what it was like in the late 30s, early 40s.
It's Annie, and I am Yupik Eskimo, and I come from the small village called Atmalsha. The
This is the heart of Athabascan Indian country, and you'll be learning about the Athabascan culture today. We'll show you how they skillfully survived this environment for over 10,000 years.
Cabin, like many others, is built from materials cleared right here from the land. Now, if you take a look on top of the roof, you'll notice sod there. What is it doing there? Well, that was used for insulation. It actually had a purpose.
This structure is called a cache. Now, cache is French for storage. It is also built from spruce poles and has a bark roof. Now, this is simply a storage shed that's built on stilts to keep the contents off the damp ground, out of the winter snow, and away from animals.
Now, the floral pattern of the beadwork is an Athabascan trademark, and the women usually replicated the flora and the fauna that grew around in their area. And on this maiden's dress right here, you see floral patterns replicating the forget-me-not, the Alaska state flower, and the bluebells. On the chief's jacket, however, the floral patterns symbolize something different. They symbolize animal tracks. Now, the women believed that when they sewed animal tracks on their husband's clothing, it would bring them good luck while hunting or trapping. And here you see the tracks of the lynx, the wolf, the rabbit, and the white beads connecting all these other tracks are known as ptarmigan dancing across the snow.
Now, can anybody tell me the difference between reindeer and caribou? You do know that reindeer can fly, right? Actually, reindeer is a domesticated version of the caribou. They're of the same genus and species and are virtually identical to the caribou, but these reindeer, they're not native to Alaska. Now, the last pelt I'd like to show you is the beaver fur. Now, this is also very valuable, but not only for the fur, but also for the meat. And the meat was considered a delicacy, but I've never got to try any because it's always a tradition to serve the elders first, and by the time I got up to best, none left.
Everything here is genuine. The people we're meeting, that we meet along the river, the people that put on this presentation are all real Alaskans.
No, man, he's gonna
Spoken yet, native people that grew up in the village are as genuine as Alaskans can be.
Mrs. Bickley and I have 4 children, a daughter and 3 sons. And they started just as little kids doing their chores on the boats.
We only had one trip a day, and our season was much less with our little 25-passenger vessel. So as the business grew, the children were growing.
And then as they grew older, they took more responsibilities. Then as they had families, each of their kids, our grandchildren, did the same thing coming into the business. So that now of the 20 family members, we have 18 working in the business. The other 2 are not renegades. They're just under 5 years old.
Started out as a youngster going along on the boat with my folks, and I stood right on this box and learned to drive as a child, to operate the boat. And myself, like my brothers, my 2 brothers and I have all become riverboat captains.
We owe a lot to our 4 children. They have really helped develop it and enlarging, increasing the business.
My father has always told us that if you're coasting, you're going downhill. So we're always striving to continually improve it. We make this comment in the beginning of the season that we're going to have one perfect trip. Our timing is going to be right. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to project yourself properly. You're going to treat people with first-class treatment. Finest trip we're going to put out. We're going to do that 250 times. So that's what makes it work.
I'd like for our visitors when they leave to love Alaska as much as we love it, but I don't know if that's possible.
Rhythm of the rails, harmonics of the train's motion, beat of an eagle's wings, patter of canine paws, lumbering majesty of a grizzly sow and her cubs, the drone of a bush plane as it struggles skyward, whoosh, whoosh of a paddle wheel, color of gold, and grandeur of Alaska's vast spaces. These things will all blend into a warm memory as our Alaska rail adventure reaches its end. The great land has cast its spell. In the words of poet Robert Service, there's a land where the mountains are nameless and the rivers all run God knows where. There are lives that are erring and aimless, and deaths that just hang by a hair. There are hardships that nobody reckons. There are valleys unpeopled and still. There's a land, oh, it beckons and beckons. And I want to go back. And I
device in motion, viewing a mobility part that listens and adapts with solutions customized for the short-term and the long haul.
Oh. Alright, guys. That was a good one. Alright, guys, give me a minute here to do something here really quick. Alright, I hopefully all of you all enjoy the train DVD alley on the Great American Rail Journey anchored to Fairbank, aka the Alaska Railroad Alley on DVD alley. Gee, I mean, this video hasn't been the longest alley. Well, I thought this video was gonna be a longer one because even though on my other train DVD video that I have done, they were hour long and couple of hours long, I guess, Allie. But anyway, Allie, I'm so glad we did. And the main reason why I decided to do it today, Allie, because next Friday and next Saturday, severe weather is forecast part for much of the United States. So I say to myself, why not? Why not do it today, Atlee? So just to let it get it out of the way, Atlee, and whatever. I mean, everything. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope you all did enjoy that as much as I do, Atlee. And before I go, Atlee, I do want to get a big thank you to my good friend Peterbilt 389 Railfan for letting me have this and because this is a very awesome, it is a very nice DVD outlay and it's pretty good outlay and it goes with all my other train DVD outlay I have done, like you remember I did a train video on this one right here, the Union Pacific number 844 outlay, of course, from the Union Pacific Railroad Company, from the Union Pacific Railroad Heritedly Operation in Cheyenne, Wyoming, from the year 2006. And then you remember I did a video on this one, the line Duckman, of course, Allie, the line Duckman, of course. Um, two programs in this one, Allie. And now this is and now that now this is now out this is now a 1,000 minute video right now, Lee. And then if you remember I did a video on this one. I Love Toy Train Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 Outly. I did that one Outly, and I hope you guys did enjoy that one. And then next up, this one right here, the Railroad Track Across America. Dick 1 and Dick 2. I did a Part 1 and a Part 2 on this one. And now this one, the Great American Rail Journey Anchor to Fairbanks. This is now my, I think you want to call maybe seven. I think this is my sixth or seventh train DVD video I done here on my channel, and it had just been the best in all wondering. And I would say out like we did see a lot of things in that DVD. I mean, we saw trains, airplane, people, um, passengers, outlet, bears, and animals, and God knows what, and everything there in Alaska, and also the mountain. I mean, the mountains were nice. I mean, that was very nice, of Corelli, and I mean, it became the bet. So, but hopefully all of you have fun and watching that train DVD with me, Outlay, and God knows what. If I find any more, if I find any more train DVDs, Outlay, um anywhere else, Ali, I will grab it and I'll bring a video and I'll bring you all another train DVD video. So anyway, that is pretty much it I have to say. This is Hutchinson, Kansas Real Fan Productions on YouTube signing off, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to my good friend Peterbilt 389 Rail Fan. Bye bye, everybody.